Welcome to the latest Motley Fool Scoreboard. I'm Anand Chokkavelu, and we've got longtime fools Karl, Thiel, and Keith Speights giving a 1 to 10 rating to one of the 2 or 3 major lab companies in the U.S., depending on how generous you are in your groupings. It's Quest Diagnostics, ticker symbol DGX. We'll talk about the strength of Quest business first, including factors like industry and competition. 10 is invincible, a 1 is hopeless. Keith said an 8. Karl, you're at a 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very necessary business, and Quest, along with LabCorp, is a runaway leader. Not quite a duopoly, but sort of getting there. But it's a very margin-sensitive business, and gross margins have just been chipped away for years. Even more so at LabCorp than Quest, but both companies have suffered from this. Quest, they've been pretty smart about it. They've invested a lot more in what are called esoteric tests. So these are more less sort of routine blood work that you get done at the doctor's office, and more sort of genetic-based tests. Those are higher margins. They've done some careful tuck-ins. But I just still see this as a pretty cost-sensitive business where kind of the most profitable parts of it for Quest are also being increasingly challenged by newcomers. So like the Grails and Guardants and Exact Sciences of the world. They had a great Q2, and I think they're doing really well right now. But there's always this sort of downward pricing pressure, particularly coming out of Medicare and the Protecting Access to Medicare Act. That resets prices regularly.
Yeah, and I went with an 8. Quest Diagnostics has a lot of relationships with healthcare providers. It serves half the hospitals and physicians in the U.S., so I really like the strength there.
For management, a 10 is Warren Buffett, and a 1 is Homer Simpson. Karl's at a 7.5, and Keith's at a 7.
Yeah, I think Quest Diagnostics CEO Jim Davis and his team have done a reasonably good job. I especially like how they've spearheaded the adoption of AI into the company's services. I think that'll pay off nicely over the long run. I couldn't go higher than a 7, though, because while the stock is up since Davis took the helm in late 2022, the S&P 500 has delivered a much higher return.
And yeah, I guess I think Quest has been smarter than LabCorp, even though LabCorp's a slightly bigger business. I think he did a good job of managing the COVID wind down. They had a big boost in revenue during COVID. That said, I do think the company's going to need to think creatively, probably think bigger as they grow into the future.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Karl's at a 7. Keith, you're at a 7.5.
Right. On the positive side, Quest revenue and earnings continue to grow by double-digit percentages, although a good chunk of that growth is coming from acquisitions. The company's free cash flow is growing as well. They have decent margins. On the negative side, Quest has nearly $8.9 billion of goodwill on its balance sheet. That could be problematic down the road, and it also has a significant debt load.
I'm basically in the same space as Keith. They ramped up their leverage in the last couple of years, but not in any really alarming way. I mean, they did add Life Labs to get extension into Canada. Their most recent quarter was 15% growth, but 5% of it was organic.
Karl, let's talk valuation. How well will Quest stock do over the next 5 years, and how safe is it? 10's a sure thing, 1's a lottery ticket.
Yeah, I said 0 to 5%, which is to say that I'm leaning towards them being a market underperformer, but not by a lot. And, I would say they'd be at the upper end of that. And that could change if they get sort of bolder about doing more with Quest Direct, their sort of direct interface with patients, with liquid biopsy, things like that. So more initiatives could kind of change my view on that. But I do see them as relatively safe. I gave them an 8.
I think Quest could deliver high single-digit returns over the next 5 years, possibly. The overall lab services market won't grow that quickly, but I do think Quest should be able to grow faster than the market through acquisitions, through targeting higher growth parts of the market, such as consumer-initiated testing. And I give the company a solid safety score of 8 on this.
Thank you to Keith and to Karl. They've given Quest a solid overall score of 6.8 out of 10 with mediocre return expectations. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is United Health. Till then, Fool on.